Hello and welcome to part 22 of the mod making series for locked loot containers. In this one, I'm gonna make it real quick because I'm late, or it's late, I'm tired, and yeah, I didn't really do that much coding today, but I just did a bunch of, well, not a bunch of, but a decent amount of testing. I set up some, I guess you could say like debugging lines to basically show me within the Unity editor console what's going on basically, and using that to try and determine how big these overlap boxes are and stuff. And yeah, I found some interesting results by doing this. I'll just try and show what I did. So first, one of the things I did was I got rid of, or I told to filter out any game objects with the combined models name. That way like I said, we don't see the combined models that we don't care about, because that's just always going to show up because of how massive it is. And how encompassing it is. So we don't care about that. And I added some more comments and stuff for myself. But the main thing I did here is this section below is once again primarily for testing. And it's basically just a bunch of debug.log format lines or strings that show up whenever these lines of code are ran. It just shows this text in the Unity console, and it makes it easier to kind of like read what just happened, what's going on and such. The log format allowing you to give like basically variables within it. So in this case, I was able to say like for the 0 one, it equates to lootpiles.name, and then the second one is load ID, and then the position and stuff like that. And then I just put some stuff to break up the line so it's easier to distinguish between which item is which that's going on and within the console and everything. And then I do a loop that counts all of the room objects that this overlap hit. And then it goes through them, and then it lists the game object name. It lists the game object name for any of those that were overlapped by that particular loot piles overlap physics thing. And yeah, it just displays that. So it gives like a kind of like a little column display of all the all of the objects that were overlapped by that particular loot pile's box overlap thing, and gives us a nice list of that. Or not that nice, but it's way better than it's way better than nothing at all. That's for sure. So yeah, that's what I was doing. And I just wanted to test out stuff to see, like, okay, so how big in reality, what's the area in reality kind of that these overlaps are actually touching in the end here. And I found some interesting stuff. It seems to be the fact that, unlike with the cubes that I was making in the last episode, it doesn't seem to be that they don't seem to be that accurate. Not exactly accurate to what those were, basically. So the overlaps appear to be a bit bigger in some cases than the cubes were. So that just to keep that in mind. So when we enter the dungeon, it does all the stuff. And then we can look at the console here. But yeah, as I said, is that some of them seem to be bigger, and they encompass more than they did from the cube things that I was doing yesterday. So just need to keep note of that. Um, but you see, like, up here, loot pile being checked is named the random treasure. That's really not even useful, but with a load ID of that, which is kind of useful, but not really, because we can't really see the load IDs in the Unity editor. That's like a game object, a component-specific thing. We can't see the script, kind of. Um, and then the more useful one with transform, and it's the transform of the parent object, that being the billboard, X, Y, and Z, which we can see in the editor, so that's the most handy part there. And then a line breaker thing, and then it shows whatever objects were overlapped in the check or whatever. So in this case, for this loot pile, it's the loot pile near that one with the room with the severed heads down there. Let's see, actually. There's the thief, and then there's two doors, and then there's a texture that's the billboard for the, I think, the torch, maybe? I don't know why it doesn't always hit the other one, it seems. It's kind of strange. And the fact that it's hitting 55012, which is the texture for one of the types of secret doors. So I don't know, it must be extending out quite a bit somewhere in reality to be able to hit one of those things. But yeah, that's just the thing we're gonna have to deal with, is that some of these are not gonna be completely accurate to what they're actually like in the context, because they, you know, they'll be encompassing some of these ones like, oh, this one's nowhere near any of those doors, but somehow it does overlap them at some point. So yeah, I mean, it's still more useful than nothing being completely random, because we could actually do something with this, but it's not going to be completely accurate, obviously, in all cases. Not in every case, at least. And then down here you have that that one in that room with the benches that I showed yesterday. Somehow this extends all the way out to where that the moving platform is, the one that goes up and down with the chair and the lever. Somehow extends all the way out as well to the skeletal warrior that is on that area there. So I don't know why like that box extends out so much, but yeah, kind of strange. But once again, just something to note. And then you have some like down here that don't touch anything, and this is actually the coffin, I believe. Yeah, let's actually check. Let's see. So 8.2 and 1.95. I think that is over here somewhere. Down. No. 8.2, 1.95. No. Where are you? There you are. And I can see it over here where my mouse is, this position values. Yeah, so this is that, whatever you want to call this open casket, open coffin. And it actually, whatever way it's going, it doesn't touch anything, it seems. But this is what I was going to say, is that I can actually, in theory, get a little bit more information than one might expect, just from the actual, size that the overlap cube is in the end. Like, like in this case, the the X the X the X and the Z, I guess you'd call it, the X and the Z, the horizontals, they are significantly smaller than the Y in this particular case. And with that, you could kind of be like, oh, well, if that's the case, it's probably going to be something like a coffin like this, because it's open, so the Y goes up pretty much as far as it can go, and then the X and the Z are restricted. So we could get a pretty good approximation that something that has a y value that is much bigger than the z and the x has a y value that's much bigger than the z and the x um dimensions, whatever you want to call it, the yeah, the z and the x axes. We could probably make a guess that in those cases, then it's probably some kind of open coffin like this. Maybe not always, and maybe it won't always be consistent with that, but we could, in theory, if we wanted to, make a, if statement or something like that, and be like, if y is this much bigger than these two axes that it's attached to, then we could say like, okay, well, we're assuming then it's some kind of coffin or casket, and maybe do something different with that in those cases. Um, and we could do the same with other stuff, but that was just the one example that I was like, you know what, that seems like it could actually be useful to think about. Actually, using the specific axes lengths or sizes and being like, okay, so what to do with this now? Same thing with the ones that are particularly large. When in the bigger open rooms, we'll just be like, well, if it's above this size, maybe don't make it a chest, or maybe do make it a chest. I don't know, but that's the sort of thing that I was thinking of. Um, but yeah, that's the little bit that I did today. I was kind of distracted by some other stuff that I was doing today, and today went really quick, so I was like, you know what? But I got a little bit more done here than I was expecting, so that's pretty cool at the same time. But with that, I think I am going to cut this video probably the shortest video of this series that I had so far, but I don't think I really have too much else to say about that. I just was doing some testing, debugging and stuff like that with console logging with strings and everything, and pretty useful. Tomorrow, hopefully, I'm able to get more into it and actually start doing the more like practical part of it, not just the testing of it. I'll probably have to do more testing and stuff to actually like try and determine what certain objects are and then filter out based on that and make like a list of certain model IDs and action objects and flats and stuff, and then make like a case switch basically sort of thing to be like, if this is that, then give this value plus or minus to the room value, that kind of thing. But yeah, before I go any longer, I'll just say thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.